Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to do an analysis of Kamala Surayya's poem In Love, which is included in the syllabus of 5th semester BA English Language and Literature under Calicut University. Kamala Surayya, popularly known by her one-time pen name Madhavi Kuti and married name Kamala Das, was a major Indian English poet and a leading Malayalam author from Kerala. Her popularity in Kerala is based chiefly on her short stories and autobiography, while her legacy in English, written under the name Kamala Das, is noted for the fiery poems and explicit autobiography. Her open and honest treatment of female sexuality, free from any sense of guilt, infused her writings with power but also marked her as an iconoclast in her generation. Kamala Surayya was born in Punnayurkulam, Thrissur district in Kerala on 31st March 1934 to V.M. Nair, a former managing editor of Madhrubhumi, and Nalapat Balamani Amma, a renowned Malayali poet. She spent her childhood between Calcutta, where her father was employed as a senior officer in the Walford Transport Company, and the Nalapat ancestral home in Punnayurkulam. Like her mother Balamani Amma, Kamala Surayya also excelled in writing. Her love of poetry began at an early age through the influence of her great uncle Nalapat Narayana Menon. He was a prominent writer. At the age of 15, she got married to a bank officer, Madhava Das, who encouraged her writing interest, and she started writing and publishing both in English and in Malayalam. She was noted for her many Malayalam short stories as well as many poems written in English. Kamala Surayya was also a syndicated columnist. She once claimed that poetry doesn't sell in this country, but her forthright columns, which sounded off on everything from women issues and child care to politics, were popular. Kamala Surayya's first book of poetry, Summer in Calcutta, was a breath of fresh air in Indian English poetry. She wrote chiefly of love, its betrayal, and the consequent anguish. Kamala Surayya converted to Islam in 1999 and announced that she planned to marry her Muslim lover, but she never remarried. She died on 31st May 2009. Now, the awards and recognitions she received. Kamala Surayya has received many awards and recognitions for her literary contribution. Some of them, she was nominated and shortlisted for Nobel Prize for Literature in 1984. She received the award of Asian Pen Anthology in 1964, Kerala Sahitya Academy Award in 1969, Sahitya Academy Award in 1985, Asian Poetry Prize in 1998, Kent Award for English Writing from Asian Countries in 1999, Violar Award in 2001, Honorary D.Lit by University of Calicut in 2006, Muttathu Varki Award in 2006, and Ezhuthachan Puraskaram in 2009. Now, about the writing style of Kamala Surayya. Her poetry is significantly love poetry. Man-woman relationship in her poetry is depicted on different levels, like love, lust, physical nearness, frustration, and disillusionment in love. Kamala Surayya openly introduced a generation to topics like coming of age and sexual yearnings of a woman that was a taboo those days. She was a trendsetter or an iconoclast who defied all conventions. Kamala's writings open a window into the intricacies of the female mind, thought process, her struggles with the patriarchal setup, her quest for love, and her acknowledgement of the female body's sexual desires. She left behind many strong lessons for the women of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Now, about the confessional elements in Kamala Surayya's poetry. Confessional poetry has its origin in America. In the second half of the 20th century, a group of American poets started writing on a highly subjective matter. Expression of personality without escape bloomed in the poems. The emotional content appears personal rather than impersonal. In the narrative content, the protagonist seems to be unbalanced, afflicted, or alienated. This group of poets includes Robert Lowell, John Barrymore, W.D. Snodgrass, Theodore Roethke, Anne Sexton, and Sylvia Plath to establish the confessional pattern in poetry. The new poets in India, writing in English, initiated their voice in poetry in a manner that resembled a confessional pattern. They used the self as a poetic symbol around which hovered a personal mythology. Among them, Kamala thus excels the position. She started writing in open form and in open language. Her poetry especially displays moral courage with anti-establishment in content and alienation in common theme. She never shied away from laying bare the raw emotions of man and woman. A prime feature of Kamala's poetry was the constant attention to female sexual life. Her controversial autobiography, Ente Katha or My Story, provides an honest depiction of her childhood, coming of age, sexuality, emotional clashes, marital issues, and extramarital affairs. As a child, an adolescent, a young wife, and an old woman, Kamala explores various aspects of a woman's journey to connect with her sexuality. Her poetry is replete with shocking and unorthodox details about love, marriage, and sex. Keki and Daruwala finds three elements in her poetry. First, skin's lazy hungers, then male indifference, and the last, female need for love. Now, let's have an analysis of the text of the poem. In Love is a bleak poem where Kamala Das describes her relationship with her lover or her husband, which is based on mere physical bonding. In the presence of her lover, she feels like her body being scorched and consumed by her lover in unpleasant ways. She compares his kisses to the burning mouth of the sun. The using of the word burning twice in the beginning of the poem and the comparison of her lover's limbs to carnivorous plants reaching out to devour her intensify her feeling of being consumed by her lover. There are no pleasant or inviting images used in the poem. She calls her lust a sad lie. In her imagery, she appears consumed rather than fulfilled. Means her sexual desires never gets fulfilled because she feels herself being consumed by the lust of her lover or husband. She realizes this relationship is not what she would like it to be. Yet she admits that while her mind is moody or not happy with the mere bodily component of her relationship, there is a certain pleasure in the physical relationship. She calls it deliberate gaiety, but at the same time undercuts the idea of pleasure with her image of it as harshly trumpeting into the room. Her imagery continues to convey the destructive quality of her relationship. All around her is a malevolent world which she expresses with the images of crows and corpse bearers. Crows fly like poison, and she hears the cries of corpse bearers. Her nights are moonless, and she is sleepless. She wanders through the veranda during the night time, and her heart longs for love in its sublime form, but gets only the skin communicated thing or less from the male partner, and thus it is filled with frustration. She questions this skin communicated thing that she can't call, at least in her lover's presence, love. The poem shows the dehumanization of the decoupling of love and lust as the narrator experiences it. The narrator would like more than the bodily relationship that leaves her feeling used up, moody, and despondent, which makes her feel poisoned and corpse-like. At the same time, she is afraid to bring up the idea of love yet to her partner. The word yet is possibly the most poignant word in this poem. Despite the bleakness the narrator experiences in her relationship, and despite her seeming inability to talk to her lover and express her feelings, she still yet longs for the lust to transfigure into love. So the word yet is very much significant in the poem. Thank you.